All right, bear with me. We're just getting started with this, and it's going to be a little technical, but I'm just trying to kind of show the direction that I think this can go. So, essentially, long story short, I think I can create another user interface with far fewer bugs in the future. And to do that, I need to kind of set up the back end a bit better than I had it before. I've already been working on cleaning up some of the back end. I've learned a lot. In the meantime, I've set up just today, just working for a couple of hours today, trying to get some very, very basic functions set up that people can start to use and start to mess with a little bit if they would like to. So let me tell you how this works. And like I said, this is a little technical. Essentially, if you go to jsfiddle.net, you can run HTML, JavaScript, or CSS as you see fit. Your default layout is going to look much more like this, where HTML is in the top left, JavaScript's in the bottom left, CSS is in the upper right, and then your results will end up showing up here in the lower right. I have mine set up so that it looks a little different, but don't be freaked out by that. You ultimately want to get to the JavaScript section. Then you'll want to make sure that you are copying these lines of code exactly as described. So import star as Saipan from, and then that URL address. I'll try to put. I'll post that in the notes along with the Discord post that I'll end up making. So this pulls in the code from a unified source. This is going to fix some of the version control problems we were having before. So that's why we're doing this. And it also lets us access this from multiple different sites. And ultimately, you guys can start to customize your own tools using some of the base functions that I've already constructed. So it'll make sense long term. Anyway, so there's line 1, import star as Saipan from that URL. Next up is essentially just a test function. It's a way of just testing that the code is working. So you'll see if you put that in there and hit Control Enter, in the console, this is the console down here in the far lower right, yours might be collapsed. If it's minimized, just click down there at the bottom to reopen it. You can click along this bar here. But anyway, I here is just my way of having a simple test function to make sure that everything's working. Then separately, if you want to get player attributes, basic player attributes, I haven't tested this in detail, and it doesn't do the thing that sm23 did where it eventually rectifies the final overall value to make sure that the calculations are correct. This doesn't do that yet. Like I said, I just had a little time to work on it today. But essentially, the arguments that you'll input are position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4. Those position values go -1 to 27, where -1 is null, and 27 I think is like a left winger. So those are bouncing around Discord. Let me know if you need a copy of those. But essentially, let player 1 equal Saipan dot get player attributes, and then you put in those values. So this person, I think, is a center back and left wing back, if I recall correctly. That's what 2 is. Position 3 is null, position 4 is null, and I wanted to give it an overall value of 67. So that will essentially, very quickly, this will call the scripts that are listed in here. It will assign it to a variable called player1, and then console.log will show you the output values of player1. So if we run all of this, it gives you some values, and essentially they're like semi-plausible for a center back / wing back. So wing backs generally have pretty good acceleration, probably pretty decent pace if I had to guess as well. Good stamina because they got to be getting up and down the wing, at least in the older systems. So or maybe they call it speed in here. I can't sprint speed. Yeah, 67. So anyway, those values should be semi realistic. You can tell that some of these aren't quite up to snuff. Like defensive awareness isn't quite there yet, but generally speaking, this is just our starting point. So anyway, if you want to get player attributes, you do it that way. Then I've also started working on the player appearances. 2 input variables here. So let appearance 1 equal, and then essentially you just want to put in the gender and the nation ID. So 14 is England. If you need a copy of those nation IDs, I can get them to you. I'm really working off of whatever we call it, FIFA 23 at this point, but we can update all of these things. So now if we were to run this code, you'll see that it generates some new values for player 1 up here, and it will get us some skin tone codes and hair type codes and such that will generally match the nation ID in question. So again, this has not been tested much. There's a lot more to come with respect to what we could build off of this. There's no user interface yet. You would end up having to take these values, literally copy-paste style, and put them into Excel, which we can do really quickly. Paste them into Excel, and you'll ultimately have to data clean it from here. It'd be a bit arduous, but this is, again, just a starting point, just a beginning point to try to get us some of these basic functions in a way that we can actually start to use in some more versatile ways. So, thanks for taking a look. I'll keep working on this. Let me know what you need. Talk to you soon.